What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 6 of VEVE Investments. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the difference between inflation and deflation and why having a deflationary OMI token is a positive thing for us investors. If you guys enjoy the content and would like to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get on with the episode. All right, guys, kicking it off, let's start off with inflation first. So inflation is a silent killer, silently robbing you of purchasing power since 1913. Make sure you invest your money to beat inflation, otherwise it's going to be worthless. So let me elaborate on this point. For those of you guys who don't know what inflation is going to be the increase in prices of goods and services in the economy. So I live in Canada. Inflation right now, I think, is around 8%. But the problem is this with the dollar, okay? If I toss money into my savings account, I'm going to earn a percentage interest, right? When I was young, it wasn't uncommon for my parents to be earning 4 or 5% on the savings account. Nowadays, it's 2% if you're lucky. I think the average across Canada is between 1 and 1.5% on savings accounts. But let's assume that you're lucky. Let's assume that you have a 2% interest on your savings account. Well, you're tossing money into that savings account and everything around you in society is increasing by an average of 9%. You're earning 2% on your money. Okay, so in other words, the difference between that 9 and 2% is actually the amount of purchasing power or buying power that your money is losing. Purchasing power is going to be your ability to exchange your money for other things. Okay, so for example, let's assume you have $100,000 in a savings account, and a year from now, you have that exact same dollar figure, okay, to the cent, $100,000. A year from now, you have less money, and the reason why is because the purchasing power associated with that $100,000 is actually going to be less a year from now when prices are going to be higher, right? Because you can exchange that money for less things of value as opposed to today when prices are lower. Or in other words, you can exchange that same amount of money for more things of value. So the problem is this: when you put money in a savings account, you're not actually saving money nowadays. And that's the problem with the dollar, is inflation is so damn high that even if I was earning 5% interest on my savings account, right, more than double what the average is, I would still be losing purchasing power. So when I explain this to people, the example I like giving is tossing money in a savings account is the exact same thing as putting ice in a safe, right? The ice is just going to melt over time the same way as the purchasing power of your money is just going to keep going down and down and down as inflation rises. Now, if we head over to the OMI side of things, you're going to notice that OMI has a deflationary aspect to the token. So what I mean by this is the following. OMI is going to have a certain amount of tokens in their circulating supply at any given time. And this is going to be the same for the dollar, right? There's going to be a certain amount of dollars in the circulating supply at any given time. The main difference here is that my Canadian government can just go out and print more money into the economy, therefore devaluing the money that I've saved. The amount of tokens in OMI's circulating supply will never actually increase. In fact, it'll actually do the complete opposite. It'll go down over time. And the reason why is because there are several systems or applications that have been introduced that are actively burning the token, or in other words, taking tokens out of the circulating supply, therefore reducing the amount that's available to grab, right? So an example of this is going to be ECOMI. ECOMI is a third-party app, right? You can download on iPhone and Android. Very similar to that of Clash Royale, if you're familiar with that game. But they have a marketplace where you can purchase NFTs, and you can actually do so using OMI, okay? So at the end of every single month, a certain percentage of the OMI that ECOMI pulls in actually gets burned and taken out of the circulating supply, okay? Another example of this is going to be Cannon Crisis. Cannon Crisis was an app developed by a community member. I think it's actually called like an OMI incinerator, but it was designed to literally burn tokens out of the circulating supply and reduce the amount. So the main benefit to us as investors is as the circulating supply of OMI decreases, that's only going to further increase the value of the tokens that we hold in our portfolio. So my goal as an investor is trying to accumulate as many tokens as I can now and take as many out of the circulating supply. But when that circulating supply is reduced, the tokens in my portfolio become that much more valuable, therefore increasing the return on my investment. All right, guys, that concludes episode 6 of VEVE Investments. If you guys have been noticing the custom-made VEVE art backdrops I've been making for the videos, I'd really appreciate it, guys, if you drop a like down below. Subscribe if you want to see more. And as for episode 7, I'll see you guys next week.